Let's talk some more about consciousness, shall we? So, for those of you that's a little bit philosophical, a little bit psychological, then you'll know that there's no fundamental premise outside of pure, unadulterated awareness. We can get this awareness when we're in the deepest of meditations, where nothing exists save pure awareness. Then out of awareness comes consciousness in varying degrees. Now, as we develop through our spiritual journey, our consciousness expands, and we can have spiritual experiences, phenomenological experiences, paranormal experiences, entheogenic experiences, meditative experiences. We can have a whole array of experiences which expand our consciousness, and we go out and out and out and out and out. And at some stage, when our consciousness is expanding, we gain what is called enlightenment. And enlightenment, in my estimation of studying this stuff for a long, long time, is simply when we realise that we're not the physical body. When we realise that there is something else, which is the I. And that isn't the physical body. The physical body is the earth avatar. It enables the spirit, the I, to have an experience. And so, if we are looking, really trying to discern and definitively label what we actually are, well, people call it spirit, and other people call it consciousness, and other people call it God, but because all those things are ineffable, I would call them all the same thing. They're just semantics. We're just playing with semantics. So what we are, what this cosmos is, and everything in it is consciousness, spirit, God. So you can hyphenate all those things so they become actually one word: God, spirit, consciousness. And they're one entity. Now, there is nobody that's ever lived or will ever live which will dispute that as a fact, because for this so-called 300,000 years that human beings have been in their present state, there's nobody that's ever been able to define those things. And it doesn't look like we're getting any closer any day soon. And so, it would be reasonable to just accept that all the concepts that we create are just another word for what we are. Just another word for consciousness, just another word for God, just another word for the deep awareness that we have. Every time we perceive something, it comes from consciousness, doesn't it? There's nothing perceived, there's nothing experienced outside of consciousness. And when we create gods of all different varieties all over the world, where do they derive from? They derive out of human consciousness. So if all these gods are deriving out of human consciousness, they must be human consciousness. We are human consciousness, so therefore they must be us. Inseparable. All these fantasies of demons and angels and ghouls and gods and all the rest of it, they're all coming out of consciousness en masse. Now, as I've said, some people have massively more expansive states of consciousness, and they can delve into other worlds. People can speak to the dead, necromancy. They can experience other dimensions, and I've spoke many times, and I've wrote about it in my book, the encounters I've had in the astral plane, where you can meet shadow beings and all different sorts of invisible entities, and then just perfect, beautiful human beings, all different sorts of things out there in the astral, and they are seemingly more real than real. So there's all this stuff that we can do, but when we come back to our core essence and we wonder what these crazy experiences were, well, we go, well, what's the fundamental premise of where these experiences derived out of? And it's consciousness. So it has to be consciousness. And so if we are envisioning God and all the rest of it out there somewhere, well, there's no out there somewhere. It's all in here. It's all in our creation. It's all in our what the fuck? Imagination. It's all in our imagination. And if you think that there's a God outside of our imagination, then how can we imagine such a God? If you think that there's a God that created the cosmos and created the world and all this sort of thing, and he's out there, outside, you see, we've not found him in spacecraft and fucking lunar modules and all that sort of stuff. We've not come across anything like that, have we? Nothing at all. So it appears that there's nothing out there. Whatever we consider to be out there is in here. Where's in here? In our imagination. Our imagination has no corporality. It can dream and dream and dream forever. And so that's where all of our gods are, angels and demons and all the rest of it. And then when we listen to stories about if we don't do this and if we don't do that, then the devil's going to get us and God will chastise us. Well, that's also in here as well, and it's called our conscience. And so these spiritual books, they just appeal to human consciousness on many levels. On the conscience, playing deeply on the conscience, that we shouldn't do nefarious things and we should be more caring and considerate, because if we did that, the world would be a better place to live. And so human beings have worked this out a long time ago, and so they've wrote stories about it. And so when we look at that, then we go, well, if every single thing is within consciousness, human consciousness, it has to be within human consciousness for humans to experience it. Humans can't experience anything outside of human consciousness. Now, Russell Brand has often spoke time and time again about the very narrow parameter of physical light that we can see, the very narrow parameter of audio that we can hear. And how our senses are just, very, very, very limited, very, very limited. And so, on the premise of that, we have to go, well, how could we as this human experience really consider that we know anything definitively at all? How can we be so sure that this is a corporeal world and there's gods and any number of things, whatever you imagine to consider is a reality? How can you be so sure when you only see a tiny, tiny slither of a fraction of the possible spectrum of light going into infrared gamma rays and all those different sorts of parameters? And if you think, oh, you can hear everything on the world, well, we know that bats hear far higher pitches, and dogs hear higher pitches, and all other animals, they're vastly more astute. My friendly squirrel, when I'm sitting or standing, she's sitting and I'm engaging with her and watching her, I'll see her become startled, and her attention and her ears are going this way and that way, and her tail's doing this and that, and I can't hear anything discernible to me, but she can. She's heard something very, very subtle. She's tuned into it, highly tuned. And then within a few seconds after, they start because one of them seen a cat or a predator or something like that. And so they could even feel something in the resonance of the air. They could feel the vibration, because many animals have got this sixth sense, haven't they? They really are highly tuned into their environment. And so yesterday I did a video speaking about voices in your head. What sort? Intuition, devil, God, conscience, all these different sorts of things. And when we become more and more spiritually endowed, more experience with entheogens and meditation and the paranormal and all those sort of things, then we become more in tune to the world about us, and that's when we start to see synchronicity. Many synchronicity, and then we start to think birds are speaking to us, and the trees are whispering to us. Because when we take like psilocybin, for instance, the trees most certainly do speak with you, and millions of people have said this, and you can go online and you can see hundreds of videos of people talking about the spirits of trees and how they do actually communicate with you, and they communicate on a different level depending on how old they are. For instance, if I was walking around here on shrooms, then these trees would be saying little to me, if anything at all. But if I went to some big trees, 100 or 200 years old, then most certainly they would engage in conversation. And the conversation is telepathic, and they welcome you, and they want to feel your energy. They want your energy to be with them. And I've made videos about this, haven't I? How I considered on one occasion when I was on 3.5 grams, the wood enticed me in because it wanted to feel my sexual energy. It wanted to feel my libido, and it absorbed this for about half an hour, and it was a very, very remarkable experience. So there are many, many levels to consciousness, people, and for those that reckon that they've encountered gods, angels and demons like I have, whatever they are, who knows, but they are within consciousness, and they are an actuality within consciousness. And whether they are the gods of the creation of the cosmos, well, that's a whole different ballgame. But when we listen to or we read scriptures, what the Gnostics had written, then we will be privy to people who were very, very, very deep in their consciousness, and they knew a whole lot more about gods and demiurges and devils and all different sorts of things like that. Because if you can imagine, say like thousands of years ago, when people were living rurally, and there was no artificial light, and they spent a great deal of time in the dark and contemplation, and when it's dark the imagination runs wild because the ego's afraid naturally because of predators, and so you start to see things, you start to hear things, and the imagination kicks in. And then of course spending a great deal of time on your own, still, well, you're in a meditation, and you hear the wood speaking to you, you hear the environment speaking to you, everything actually speaks to you. The cosmos does speak to you. The extended consciousness of this cosmos speaks to you if you open up the portal to allow it. And so when we look at people like schizophrenics, and we consider that they're ill, well, they may just be much more advanced spiritually than most other people, because they have tuned in to that wave band of spirits. Necromancy. Some mediums can do it when they get into a certain trance, but maybe these schizophrenics, they're already in that trance, they're already in that parameter, and that's why they hear all this noise. For those of you that have seen the Jim Carrey movie, where he becomes God, and when he becomes God, he just hears a cacophony of people's prayers. Millions and millions and millions. It's just like a dense white noise. And so if you look at that to varying degrees, that's what I imagine it to be like. And we all have no, we don't all have, but lots of us, we have internal monologues or dialogues, and sometimes they're very annoying and they're agitating and repetitive and powerful, and they ask us and manipulate us and encourage us and all this, and we're working things out. Voices in our head, they're very important because we can get different opinions, because if we don't have these challenging voices in our conscience, then how would we be able to assess our lives on an ongoing basis? We need the proverbial angel on one shoulder and devil on the other, don't we? Because if we don't have that, then there's no thoughts in our heads, and so how could we make any important decisions? Would be nothing more than automaton, would we? Yes. So people don't think about these things. They don't have the time to think about these things. I mean, there's not many of you guys that have got the leisure just to do what I'm doing now, just to sit on this little bench in this little wooded area and just to impart my musings on the day. Just coming back from the gym and I'm musing about one or two things in the gym, and then think, well, I'll pay it forward, I'll pass it on. But I just wonder how many of you are prepared to accept, how many of you absolutely know this, as much as any of us can say we know anything, that you are just pure isness, you're just pure awareness, inside pure consciousness, enveloped by an ego, having a human experience. Hello, it's my friend. Come here. What's the chance of us meeting here, eh? I'm off the beaten track today, aren't I? Hey, look at him. Cyril. One day I'm going to bring a treat for him. What does he like?
Well, he has raw food, so it's
like right.
It's like a dried.
Yeah, let me give him one.
Just a dried piece.
Just a little one of these. Come on in. Oh, you don't want it. Oh, there you go then.
I see what that comes with.
Come and have a sniff, my friend. Oh, I've got a little doggy friend. He's an Italian whippet. He'll get jealous. See you later. Oh my goodness. So that was a moment of joy, of connection, sharing that level of appreciation, and you could call that love. If we was all like that, having those engagements all the time, then the world would be a very different place, wouldn't it? And so this is what this way of mastery is speaking about. It's speaking about getting outside of the ego and into the proverbial heart, where we're just open and we're non-judgmental and we're happy and we're joyous and we are willing to engage with everybody. We're not thinking about our cultural differences. We're not thinking about our religious differences. There's quite a lot of people that I see walking around up and down this path, walking their dogs, when they look really, really miserable. They don't want to engage. They're on the point of death, and they're resenting the fact that they're on the point of death. They haven't learned to accept that yet. They can barely walk, and everything's an effort, and they're in pain, and it's just like, and they just hate the world. And it's kind of like, well, you would have thought at their age, 70, 80 years old, they would have had a level of acceptance and resignation, and then they would have just been looking up with joy and openness, the sun shining through the leaves and trees and the birds, butterflies and all that sort of thing, but they're not. They're just looking at the ground and they don't want to engage with anything. They're closed down. And so, this is why I will speak about euthanasia, because there's no point in these people being alive. They are just a burden to all other human beings. They're a burden to humanity. You can't envision offspring, sons and daughters and grandkids getting any pleasure from these zombies. You just can't. They're just dead. And but it is what it is, you know. And when I see them, I feel the death. I feel that there's no spirit there at all. The spirit vacated a long time ago. The spirit said, fuck this, I'm not hanging around here for this shit. And the spirit goes, the spirit leaves them. That's why they look like they're husks. Because they are, because they're empty, they're soulless, there's nothing there anymore. So, yeah, how many of you are prepared to accept that it's just consciousness? This thing is just consciousness. And there are a whole multitude levels of hypnosis. From the cradle to the grave, hypnosis. Because without the hypnosis, then we couldn't have this human earth experience. I mean, if we, let's say, were born in the Himalayas and lived very, very simple lives, just tilling the ground and, you know, doing that stuff, just surviving, then that's one level of human experience, isn't it? And then we have another level of like very, very wealthy people with all the trinkets that the earth could possibly offer. That's another way. And then we could have the spiritual way, whereby people are entirely content and happy and joyous because they've woken up spiritually and they realise that they're having this spiritual experience, and it's only consciousness, God consciousness, which is allowing this to happen. And so you go, thank you, 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 because it's a wonderful, remarkable, incredible experience when we can still our minds and learn to appreciate it. And so this is where I've been now for this past 16 years, in the deepest level of appreciation, and not wanting any of those trinkets, other than the ones that are necessary to how I live my life, like this phone or my camcorder, the computer, my guitars, and a few home comforts, you know. But to be out in the natural environment is a wonderful, incredible, soothing thing, because it's where we belong. You know, the human beings have only just been fucking around with this technology for like 300 years maximum, since the advent of the very first auspicious signs of the Industrial Revolution. But you know, even over 100 years ago, people were travelling around on horse and carts, and there was no combustion engines and all this different sort of stuff, and so just a much more wonderful world to live in. So before I wrap this video up, when I was in the graveyard, churchyard yesterday, I was making that video about the way of mastery. There were two women, about 30 years old it turned out to be. They came and sat down on the grass, and they basically couldn't take their eyes off of me when I was recording. And they were just blatantly staring, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what they think that, you know, I'm doing here and this and that. Anyway, I wrapped up the video, and just as I was packing the camera away, one of them came over and asked, you know, if they could ask me what I was talking about, because they're really, really interested, because they heard me say philosophy a couple of times, and they're both on the spiritual path, and they knew there was something about me, and because I had my shirt off and I was, you know, I'm tanned, they were thinking, like, this is what they said, that you'd probably just come back from Peru from doing ayahuasca, and you're a spiritual guy and all that sort of thing. Of course, all the beard and the dreadlocks and the tan. Yeah, I'm obviously not an office boy or a factory boy, am I? And so I had a chat with them for about 20 minutes or something. They wanted to know what my story was, and I went, look, you know, I've got a book and I've got a YouTube channel, and you know, you can make your way through that, but it's just an enormous amount of information, and just to sit down and tell someone your story, well, when I was in prison, I were banged up 24 hours a day. I heard lots of people's stories, and they were shockingly sad and boring, and 99% of them revolved around them being addicts to fentanyl and crack cocaine all of their lives. American prisons are, I would think, at least 80% filled with drug offenders. And so you listen to them talking about this story, that story, then this person died and that person died, and you know, how they were making out with this girl and making out with that girl, and then they'd meet this girl and say, hey, do you want to get high? And then they'd go and get high and make out. And that's all it was. Hey, do you want to get high? Hey, do you want to get high? What a sad, pathetic realm these people live in. And they're dropping like flies because fentanyl is a killer. And lots of people would say that it's designed to be so, you know, by some sort of nefarious agency. You know, because look, these fentanyl tablets, they're literally about $5 a time. And so you would have thought that it wouldn't be necessary to create them with stuff which is going to kill people. You can make a profit without doing that. Why would you want to increase your level of profit even by 20%, the risk of killing, you know, 50% of the people that took your drugs? That wouldn't make a business sense, would it? You'd want to keep your customers alive. And that's the whole thing about the pharmaceutical companies. They want to keep you suffering. They don't want to cure you. They want to keep you alive. They want to keep you coming back. Now, you see these things I've showed you in the early stages? Aren't they beautiful? And I believe this is a goat willow from the willow family. And you see trees like this are in full bloom. And then we look over here to the small leaf lime trees, and they don't have a single leaf on them. Very, very, very tentatively saying hello to the springtime. And so over here we have hornbeam. And they always struck me to be very similar to a beech tree, because they've got you know, the very smooth bark and the twist and bend like a beech, and the leaves are a little bit like beech as well. They get to about the same size and they're corrugated like that. And then you got these you know, beautiful inundated or corrugated anyway, it's wonderful now for me to be out in these sunny spring days, looking forward to the summer, but thoroughly enjoying the onset of spring. And as I'm walking around these places, always finely tuned in to the level of development of the world about me, keeping very, very present, very conscious and connected. And that's a wonderful thing. So just finally then, just getting back to this way of mastery, what this book is speaking about. Now, it's been written in a way which states that it's being spoken by Jeshua ben Joseph, otherwise known as Jesus Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed One. Now, obviously the book wasn't written by Jeshua ben Joseph, That part is obviously a fantasy. So we could readily assume then that the Anointed One, the Messiah, also is a fantasy. And then the notion of God also is a fantasy, because look, if it starts off on the premise of a fantasy, then what realities coming out of a fantasy? Incidentally, let me just say this: more and more these days, scholars are debunking these biblical texts. I was listening to a scholar last night who debunked Paul, the Apostle Paul, who apparently wrote Romans and seven epistles, letters to the Christian fraternity, churches and this and the other. Well, what they're saying now is it isn't possible for him to have wrote those, because they're very, very different. They've been written by a different hand, and they are even really, really questioning the existence of that person at all. And so this is the thing, people, what we're dealing with. We are just dealing with imagination. We're dealing with fantasy. Now, you know, when you accept that everything is a fantasy, when you accept that there's no physical matter here, then it's not too much of a stretch to just go, well, everything's a fantasy. Everything we think, everything we say, everything we hear, it's all fantasy, because people are all fantasists, and we're all imagining this and imagining that, and none of us have got any real knowledge, because there's no real knowledge. There's just the idea of knowledge here, and that's the thing. This world is built on ideas. And for those of you that are new to the channel, and you're not philosophers and you're not psychoanalysts and you're only just starting out on the spiritual path, well, there's hundreds of thousands of books that you can read which are going to be opening up your consciousness to these things, and you know, they're all going to be telling you the same thing, that it's just imagination and there's no corporality to anything at all. So with the gods and with the Jesuses and the saints and the apostles and all this, I've read so much stuff which is so contradictory. It's so wildly different. You just look at it and you go, well, you choose what you want to believe. That's all we do. 4,000 religions on the planet. You choose which one you want to follow or not. Millions and millions and millions, billions of videos, all contradicting each other from one extremity to the other. You will get absolutely everything. And in recent times, when I'm delving into the ketogenic diet and I'm making videos and I'm saying this is just a minefield, because of course there's everything there which contradicts absolutely everything. And so it's a case of, well, just do what you fucking want to do. Make that your truth. And so I'm doing what I want to do. And as I'm doing what I want to do, then I get people sending me stuff, telling me that you can eat this vegetable, you can eat that vegetable, you can eat cheese, and well, fucking hell, I'm almost back on the same fucking diet as I started with then. You know, it just goes round in a circle, people. It goes round in a fucking loop. It really does. The only thing people haven't recommended that I can still eat is wheat and sugar. So as long as you keep sugar and wheat out of your diet, and these vegetable oils which come from nuts like sunflower oil and rapeseed oil, I think you're pretty good to go, really. And so I'm going to be incorporating cheese into my diet, and you know, it's kind of like I just feel you know, each and every day like I am God creating my reality, because we're all gods creating our reality, people. But cheese is one of the most wonderful things I've ever experienced. And if I was going to stay on this diet and never have cheese again, I'd be pretty disappointed about that. But now I've discovered that I can eat as much cheese as I want to, and I'm not going to get fat on this ketogenic diet. I've just opened a fresh tub of double whipped cream, and I'm spooning it into my mouth, and it's absolutely delicious. Now, I'm having it in my coffee, but most of it isn't making it to the coffee cup. It's going straight down the neck, at least 3 teaspoons, and I'm in heaven. And I'm like, wow, well, if I can eat all this cream and all this cheese and all this fatty meat and everything, wow, I have actually created my reality as a god here on planet Earth, which basically is just like you come down to planet Earth and you create your own reality. But you see, most people don't know about that. They have no awareness about that, and so they're influenced by other people's realities. They believe in other people's realities. Other people project their reality onto them, and they absorb it and they live by it. But if you looked into your core essence and asked yourself, what really do you want from this life experience, then you'd be doing exactly what you want to do. Like I am now, I'm doing exactly what I want to do. I'm messing around taking psychotherapy, I'm playing my guitar, and I'm learning to sing, and I'm playing my songs and stuff, and I'm philosophizing, and I'm doing the diet stuff, and I'm putting all these different videos up of facets of my life that I enjoy doing. I am actually living a very full and blissful life, because every single second of the day revolves around things that I want to do and enjoy doing. Isn't that incredible? How many of you can say that you're doing that? Well, there's a way into which you can be doing it. You've just got to not accept things that you don't want to do. You know, when I was giving people therapy, I used to give people therapy online, and they used to tell me that their life's shit and they're depressed and this, that and the other, and I'd ask them to write some stuff down. I'd say, get 2 pieces of paper. On one piece of paper you write down all the things that you don't like doing. On another piece of paper write down all the things that you do like doing. And of course, invariably, the piece of paper with the things that you don't like doing is very extensive, whereas the other piece of paper, there's only a couple of things there. And I'm like, well, look, doesn't it make sense to you? It's very, very simple. What you've got to do is you've got to increase that list of things you like doing and decrease the list that you don't like doing. Yeah, well, I have to do this, I have to do that. Well, let's just see what you actually do really have to do. Now, if you're suffering from anxiety and you're depressed and something or the other, well, most certainly you don't have to work. You just go and sign on the sick with your doctor, and you ask them to prescribe you some medication. You don't even have to take it. You just get the prescription as proof for your employer or the Department of Work and Pensions, the government, and then you concentrate on what you want to do with your life. It really, really is as simple as that. And if you say to yourself, yeah, well, I've got 4 kids and I've got this and that and the other, well, maybe your partner should be a little bit more supportive, and you trim off the fat and all the unnecessary things which your kids shouldn't be eating in any case. So don't fucking be buying them the biscuits and the crisps and the pizzas and all that. Just say to them, look, mum is not feeling very well, dad is not feeling very well, so we're not working, so we're going to be trimming down on this, and then the kids will be more than happy to help you by relinquishing that shit. And so people, all you got to do is just turn your mind to it, and your world will become very, very different. It doesn't take long at all, really, to make some major changes in your life. But then you see what I'm doing. You know what I'm doing? Well, I'm continuing. I've got to do this, that, and the other. A little bit here, a little bit there, just to keep feathering my nest. And so once you've got your stall set out, there's just a little bit of maintenance to do. And there's no reason why we should hate life. and hate our existence, and there's no reason why we should be obese and unfit and all these things. There really isn't. All you got to do is just tune your mind into another direction. And when you think about the benefits of the ketogenic diet, how people will massively lose weight, and they don't have to sacrifice a load of things. They just got to cut out bullshit. When you think that that option is there, and 99% of the population don't want to take it, you go, well, they obviously didn't come to Earth to have an enjoyable experience. They came to be very, very restricted. They can barely move because they're massively overweight. They can't do any sports, and there's so many things they can't do. There's so many holidays they can't go on. There's so many lovers that they can't partake in. There's just a whole bunch of stuff, a myriad of stuff that you will not be able to do just because you don't want to change your diet. It's bonkers, isn't it? It's absolutely shocking. And so, I mean, it's a level of consciousness and a level of awareness, because these ways of changing our lives, we have to have a kernel of desire to change our lives. And then when we have the kernel of desire to change our lives, and we start opening our consciousness into ways in which we can do that, then you'll start to see, oh, you can do this, or you can do that, or you can do something else. And you know, there's a load of things. You can start walking, you can start doing nature walks, you can change your diet, and you can go to the gym, you can take up swimming, hockey, whatever. Look, there's a billion things that you can do to change your lives. You change your job, you change your vocation, you change your partner. You know, the world literally is your oyster, and you choose what you want to take from it. And so this is what I've done all my life. I've travelled all over the world, taking from it what I've wanted to. And I've thoroughly enjoyed every single second of it. Even the bad times are good. There's no bad times, people. Look at this. Look at the vibrancy of this. The brightness. The pure white. The glistening. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And then these beautiful natural colours of the white and the green. If I ever was going to redecorate my apartment, then I'd do it with these sort of natural pastel shades. And you know, I'd need to be a little bit more minimalistic, clear out the clutter. Because with this sort of thing, it would make a feature of every single ornament or picture that you had, because it'd be a stark contrast. Anyway, guys and girls, so I started on this one speaking about consciousness is the be all and the end all. It is everything, and out of consciousness comes everything. So imagination plays a very, very important part. Everything effectively is born out of imagination. Imagination is a tool of consciousness, which we create our realities. And so to engage in your imagination more, imagining the life that you want to live, imagining what that would look like, imagining the path and the footsteps you need to take to get there. Well, you keep imagining that long enough, then things will start to come in your feed, and books will be placed in your lap, and thoughts will germinate in your mind, and before you know it, you've changed your life.